right. This joke is about Guy. One Sunday morning, a man is playing a round of golf, and he hits a hole-in-one on par 3. Hole-in-one. By the way, my mom's done that twice in real life so far.
I've done it twice in Second Life.
Second life, yeah, but in real life. Yeah. Okay, so the man walks down the hole, he pulls out his ball, and a genie pops up. That was a magic shot, says the genie. I'd like to grant you one wish, anything your heart desires. What a weird thing happened in a golf course. Well, the man thought for a while, and he says, I wouldn't mind having a bigger penis. The genie grants the man his wish, and just as quickly as he appeared, the genie vanishes. The man finishes the round of golf, and by the time he makes it back to the clubhouse for a beer, his dick is hanging out the bottom of his pants. Well, I guess he got his wish. All right. One of the man's friends notices, and he says, you got a hole-in-one on par 3, didn't you? You wish for a bigger dick. The man admits it. He did, and he explains to his friend, it's a bit more embarrassing than he anticipated. The man's friend said, well, if you want to fix it, you got to go back out there and keep hitting balls until you get another hole-in-one. So the man goes back to the hole after an hour, finally lands a hole-in-one. He limps up to the hole, grabs his ball, a genie pops out and says the same thing as before. And the man says, Genie, I was here this morning and asked for a bigger dick, remember? And the genie says, of course I remember. What would you like this time? The guy says, can I have longer legs? Tripping over my dick. Okay. And with that, we're going to hand things off to Wynott. So Wynott, get up here and make us laugh, please.
Oh, Lord, I got to stand up again? Lord, I'm so tired of standing up. I was standing up all day at dance and nothing happened. Why? Maybe nothing will happen here, too. Randy, we're really some, too. All right, can you hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
Hi, this Japanese guy goes into a currency exchange in America with 2,000 yen, walks out with $72, and the next week he goes in with 2,000 yen, but he only gets $66. He's asking the lady, why I get less money this week than last week? And the lady says, well, it's fluctuations. Man goes, fuck you crazy American too.
Fuck you.
Swiss guy looking for direct fluctuations. All right, Americans too. All right, well, if you don't get it, you don't get it. Randy, I'll tell you later. A Swiss guy looking for directions pulls up at a bus stop. There's 2 Englishmen waiting there. Gang können Sie durchsprechen, he says, and the 2 Englishmen stare at him. Excusez-moi, parlez-vous français? And the 2 keep staring at him. Parler italiano. No response. Hablan ustedes español? They still say nothing. The Swiss guy drives off, really disgusted. The first Englishman turns to the second one and says, you know, maybe we should learn a foreign language. Why, says the other. That bloke knew foreign. It didn't do him any good. These 2 Swedes, you know, Sven and Ole. I wish Sanovi were here. Well, anyway, Sven and Ole work together and they get laid off together. So they go to the unemployment office and ask his occupation. Ole goes, panty stitcher. I sew the elastic into the panties. The clerk looks up the panty stitcher job, finds it classed as unskilled labor, and gives him $300 a week unemployment pay. Sven is then asked his occupation. Diesel fitter, he says. Since diesel fitter is a skilled job, the clerk gives Sven $600 a week. Well, when Ole finds out, he's furious. He storms back to the office to find out why his friend and co-workers getting double his pay. The clerk says, panty stitchers are unskilled and diesel fitters are skilled laborers. What skill? Yells Ole. I sewed the elastic on the panties. Sven pulls him down on his head and he says, yeah, diesel fitter. These 3 guys are on a trip to Saudi Arabia, and one day they stumble into a harem tent filled with over 1,000 beautiful women. They start getting friendly with all the women when suddenly the sheik walks. I am the master of all these women. No one else can touch them except me. You 3 men must pay for what you've done today. You will be punished in a way corresponding to your profession. He turns to the first man, and the sheik says, "What do you do for a living?" The cop says, "I'm a cop." "Well, then we will shoot off your penis," says the sheik, and he then turns to the second man. "What do you do for a living?" "I'm a fireman," says the second man. "Well, then we will burn off your penis," says the sheik. Finally, he asks the last man, "And you, what do you do for a living?" And the third man grins and says, "I'm a lollipop salesman." Suck my dick. An Englishman, a Frenchman, and a Russian are viewing a painting of Adam and Eve frolicking in the Garden of Eden. "Look at their reserve, their calm," muses the Englishman. "They must be English." "Nonsense," says the Frenchman. "They're naked and so beautiful. Clearly, they're French." No clothes, no shelter," the Russian says. "They have only an apple to eat, and they're being told it's paradise. It must be they're Russian."
That's good.
An Englishman, Irishman, and a Scotsman have been working as jackaroos out west for many months, and they're feeling the need for a woman. They therefore get together and acquire by mail order from Canberra this inflatable sex doll. They draw lots, and the Englishman gets the first shot. A half hour or so later, he comes out of the spare room with a smile on his face. "Bloody great is that! Better than the wife any day." Encouraged then, the Scotsman goes in and emerges a few minutes later with a grin. "You're nae bloody wrong, Jimmy. It was worth the cost of a pint." Well, then the Irishman takes his turn and emerges after just a very short while with a puzzled, really frustrated frown. "I don't know what yous was raving about. It's bloody useless. All I did was give her a little love bite, and she let out a bloody great fart and flew out the window." This cowboy, he got caught by some Indians. He's about to be executed, and they ask him if he's got a last request. And the cowboy says yes, and he walks to his horse and whispers in the horse's ear, and the horse runs off like a mad thing over. A short while later, the horse comes back with a beautiful naked blonde on its back. Well, the cowboy takes the blonde to a teepee and has sex with her. Then he comes back out and asks to talk with his horse again. The Indians are amazed, so they agree. So the cowboy walks back over to the horse and whispers in his ear again. The horse runs off again. He comes back with a beautiful naked redhead. The cowboy takes her in a teepee, has sex with her, comes out and says, "Well, can I talk to the horse one more time?" And the Indians agree again because they're still stunned by what's happened. So he walks over to the horse and whispers something in the horse's ear, and the horse takes off running again, comes back with a beautiful naked brunette on his back. So he takes the brunette to the teepee, has sex with her, and then he comes back out and asks one more talk with his horse. The Indians are totally amazed by now, and they agree again. So the cowboy walks to the horse and he says, "I'm going to do this once more. Now read my lips. Posse."
Bring back a posse.
Yeah, not a pussy.
Okay.
Yeah. A Texan lands in Sydney, and he's picked up by a taxi. And after requesting a tour of the city, he starts into a tirade about how the small town airport was, how Texas, they got big runways on their ranches, for God's sakes, bigger. And they're pretty soon crossing Sydney Harbor Bridge, and the Texans further unimpressed. He says, "I got a duck pond bigger than that harbor there, and an ornamental bridge to span it that makes this look like a toy." Well, the Sydney-Newcastle Expressway gets his scorn as well. "Is this a road or a track?" he shouts with contempt. So when a kangaroo jumped out in front of the cab, causing the sudden severe application of the brakes, the driver can't even help himself. He says, "Bloody grasshoppers." Patty, he's sitting at a bar when a really well-dressed gentleman comes and sits down next to him. After a while, they start a conversation, and Patty asks the gentleman what he does for a living. And the gentleman says, "I'm a professor of logic at Dublin University." "Oh, I think you told this like a week ago or two." "Never mind, I won't tell that one." That's the one about, you remember that one.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so this American tourist gets the shock of his life when a Mexican with a 6-shooter jumps from behind a cactus. Hey, take my money, my car. Just don't kill me, says the tourist. I no kill you if you do what I say, says the Mexican. Just unzip your pants and start masturbating. The tourist is shocked, but he does what he's told because he's terrified. Now, do it again, says the Mexican. Yank protests, but the gun's up against his head, and he manages to jack off once again. And yet again, gringo, or I shoot you dead. Sweat's running down his brow by now, and he manages a final effort and falls to the ground totally exhausted. Good, says the Mexican. Now give my sister a ride to the next village. The Scotsman and a Jew go to a restaurant. After a really hearty meal, the waitress comes by with the inevitable bill. To the amazement of all, the Scot is heard say, I'll pay for it. And he actually does. The next morning's newspaper carries a news item. The headline was, Jewish ventriloquist found murdered in alley. And that's mine for the night, boys and girls.
All right.
Oh.
Hey, give it up for Wynott, everyone. Hooray for Wynott. Yay!
Yay!